training is for anyone at the state hospitals and state-supported living centers who deals with adding time, materials, or vendor costs to a work order. If you haven't already reviewed creating a new work task and logging in, please go back and take a look at those movies before you take a look at this one. So let's go ahead and open up CAFM 9. I'm going to move it over here a little bit so you can see it better. And I'm going to log in again as my fake technician. And I'm going to go to an active work task that I'm already working on. It's displayed here in the My Open Tasks section. And I'm going to click on it to open it. So to add time and materials to a work task, you would click on the Time, Materials, and Resolution tab at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And there's 4 sections in this tab. The first section is the time log, where you would add the employee time. The next section is the materials, where you would add any materials that you used during the course of the work. The next section is the resolution, what you did in order to resolve the situation. And the last section is the vendor invoice section. If a vendor did the work, you would put the dollar amounts and the hours and things like that here in the vendor section. And we're going to go over each of those sections. So the first thing you want to do is you want to add an employee to the time log. And the way that you do that is by clicking on the Find Employee link right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And what that'll do is it'll bring up those employees that are at your facility. So the fake technician that I created is part of Terrell State Hospital, and so it's only going to bring up those people that are at Terrell State Hospital. If, however, you work at more than one facility, which is the case for some people, you can click on this list icon here and select all employees from the list, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. And that brings back 3,573 employees. So you don't want to have to scroll through this list of 3,500 employees. You want to find a specific employee that you're looking for. So again, the way you do that is by using the runtime filters, and I'm going to look for my employee by his name, and so I'm going to look for an existing maintenance technician that I know is out there by the name of Bobby Oates. I'm going to type his last name in here, and I'm going to click on Apply Filters, and there he is. And I'm going to click on the radio button next to his name, and I'm going to say OK. And it takes just a couple of seconds, and then Bobby Oates is displayed here in the time log. So I'm going to type in a description of what Bobby did. Let's pretend that that there was, what do we want to do? Let's see, painted superintendent's office. And let's say it took Bobby 3 hours to do that. So I'm just going to type in a 3 value here. And I'm going to click on the calendar icon, and I'm going to pick yesterday's date. Where are we here? August 1st. That's yesterday as of the time I'm making this movie. And that's all I have to do is type in the number of hours and the date. And then if I save, which again, I strongly encourage you to save these records frequently, what it does is it performs an automatic calculation against Bobby's hourly rate and gives us a total cost. So let's go ahead and add a second employee, and I'll go through the steps again. So I'm going to click on Find Employee, and I'm going to go ahead and pick Rusty Daniel by clicking in the radio button. Say OK. And I'm going to say Rusty helped paint. And he also worked for 3 hours. And he also worked on the 1st. Now I can either click on the calendar icon or I can just type this in, but it has to be the same format as this value. So I can say 08/01/2012. See the match? And I'm going to click Save. And that automatically calculated the amount and put the total down here. Now, one feature that I do want to show you is if you go back to the General tab over here and you scroll all the way down, you'll see that the completion data, it's bringing the values from that tab over here to the front of the record, so at a glance you can see what the costs are. It's just a nice little feature that I wanted to show you guys. So I'm going to go back to the Time and Materials tab. Okay, so I've got my time in there. Now I'm going to add my materials. So in order to add materials, you're just simply going to click on the Add Line Item action here. So I'm going to add a line item. I'm going to say 3 gallons basic white. The reference field is for PO numbers or how you paid for this item. I'm going to say Pro Card. And the quantity is 3 because I had 3 gallons. And I need to type in a dollar amount here for my gallons. I'm going to say $15 a gallon. And that's all I need to do. Now if I click on Save, it does the calculation for me. I'm going to add another line item to this. So I'm going to click on Add Line Item again. And I'm going to say, normally you guys would probably get some of this stuff out of bench stock, but just for the sake of argument, I'm just going to put this in here. You needed new rollers. You also bought that with the Pro Card. You needed 2 of those because Bobby and Rusty worked on this. And they were $3 a piece. I'm going to click Save again. And again, it's doing my calculation and giving me a total down at the bottom. If I go back to the General tab and scroll all the way down, now it's bringing over my material costs and totaling my total cost for this work task. Go back to the Time and Materials tab. Now let's say that I accidentally put a value on here that I didn't mean to, and I need to get rid of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the checkbox here, and I'm going to say Remove Line Item. And that takes that away. Functions the same way as up here. If I put a check mark here and said Remove Entry, it takes away the employee entry. And you can add as many line items, as many people as you want to a work task. So again, I'm going to save, because I save frequently. And then I'm going to scroll down here a little bit. In my resolution, I'm going to say Painted Office Per Request. And then you might, make note of the color, specific color that you used, and then you could reference this work task again if you ever needed to go in and do touch-ups in the superintendent's office. Okay, so we're just going to pretend that you needed a vendor for this work task, and the way that you add a vendor to this is by clicking on Find Vendor. And I'm just going to go see what Terrell State Hospital has in the way of vendors. So I'm going to type 682, which is Terrell State Hospital's ID. And I'm going to click on Apply Filters. And let's just pick federal fence. Even though it's not a fence work task, I'm just doing this to demonstrate how you do it. So I'm going to go ahead and put a check mark in the box next to this vendor, and I'm going to click OK. And it refreshes the screen and it brings in a vendor line item. So you would put a vendor invoice number in here. I'm just going to make up a number. And the difference between the vendor section and the materials and time section is that this vendor section doesn't perform any automatic calculations except the total cost. So if you want to know what the labor cost was and what the materials cost was, you have to put the totals in these fields. So I'm going to say the vendor worked for 10 hours and the vendor charged me $10 an hour, so I'm going to put $100 in the labor cost. You have to do the math yourself. And they used $200 worth of materials. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on Save. And if I scroll down, you can see that it has done the addition of the labor cost and the material costs and given me a total here, but I had to put those numbers in. So that's how you add time, materials, a resolution, and the vendor invoice. If you have any questions about any of this, please contact your CAFM specialist or check your user manual. If the CAFM specialist doesn't know, he or she will ask the CAFM office and we will get an answer to your question. Thanks. Thanks for your time.